The fascinating origins of Groundhog Day, a journey through time. Groundhog Day is one of the most delightfully unusual traditions in modern America. Every February 2nd, thousands gather to watch a groundhog emerge from its burrow, waiting to see if its shadow will appear. Legend says this determines whether winter continues or spring arrives early. But how did this quirky holiday come to be? Let's uncover the fascinating history of Groundhog Day, tracing its roots from ancient traditions to the cheerful celebrations we know today. The story of Groundhog Day begins far earlier than the traditions grounded in Pennsylvania. It originates from ancient midwinter celebrations that marked a significant time of the year. For centuries, communities across Europe commemorated the midpoint between the winter solstice and spring equinox, celebrating the gradual retreat of winter and the hope of warmer days ahead. One of the most prominent influences comes from Candlemas, an old Christian holiday observed on February 2nd. Candlemas was a day when clergy would bless and distribute candles to ward off the darkness of winter and bring the light of spring. It also carried folklore related to weather prediction. According to popular belief, a sunny Candlemas meant there would be 40 more days of winter, while a cloudy day implied an early arrival of spring. The weather lore soon found an animal ambassador in German-speaking regions. The hedgehog became an informal weather forecaster, as folklore suggested its behavior on Candlemas could predict the coming week's weather. If the hedgehog saw its shadow, winter continued. If not, spring was on its way. This centuries-old superstition laid the foundation for what would become Groundhog Day. When German immigrants began settling in Pennsylvania during the 18th and 19th centuries, they brought their Candlemas traditions with them. However, they encountered a logistical issue. There were no hedgehogs in North America. Instead, they turned to a local animal familiar to the Pennsylvanian wilderness, the groundhog. Known also as a woodchuck, the groundhog was a natural choice. As a true hibernator, groundhogs spend their winters asleep underground, emerging in early February, seemingly perfect timing for this folklore tradition. Gradually, the groundhog replaced the hedgehog as the tradition's weather prophet, and Pennsylvania farmers began observing its behavior to determine if spring was near. During these early times, Groundhog Day was not a formal celebration, but rather a practical application of folklore. For farming communities, predicting the weather was vital for planning planting and crop management. The groundhog's behavior offered a symbol of hope and guidance for surviving the harsh winter months. The quirky tradition of Groundhog Day as we know it began to take shape in the late 19th century in Punxsutawney, a small town in western Pennsylvania. It was here, in 1887, that a group of locals officially declared that the groundhog would be the seer of seers, tasked with predicting the end of winter. The holiday became associated with lighthearted fun while preserving its practical and folkloric origins. This group of men, calling themselves the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club, held the event on Gobbler's Knob, a small hill just outside the town. They celebrated with speeches, food, and of course, the grand appearance of a groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil, the same name still used today. Local newspapers embraced the tradition, helping to popularize it across Pennsylvania. Phil soon became a beloved figure, and the annual Groundhog Day ceremony became more widely known. By the 20th century, what began as a small-town event in Punxsutawney had grown to attract visitors from around the state and eventually across the country. One of the reasons Groundhog Day gained such enduring popularity is its playful and uniquely American charm. Over the decades, the holiday became more than just folklore. It became a cherished celebration of community, humor, and tradition. Punxsutawney Phil emerged as a true celebrity. His appearances began to draw larger crowds each year, and his fame spread thanks to increased media coverage. Television played an instrumental role in turning Groundhog Day into a national event. By the mid-21st century, networks began showcasing the ceremony, offering viewers across the country an entertaining break from the winter blues. Yet, Groundhog Day isn't just an American tradition. While Punxsutawney Phil is the most famous forecaster, other communities in the United States and Canada adopted similar celebrations. In places like Staten Island, New York, and Ryerson, Ontario, regional groundhogs have their own prediction ceremonies, adding to the diversity of these festivities. At its heart, Groundhog Day is steeped in symbolism. The concept of an animal predicting the weather blends humor and superstition in a way that feels timeless. But where do these beliefs stem from, and why have they persisted for so long? First, there is a practical basis to the tradition. Groundhogs are true hibernators, meaning they sleep through the winter and wake up based on changes in daylight and temperature. Early February coincides with their natural biological cycle, which may explain why they became embedded in folklore as harbingers of spring. Second, the groundhog's shadow serves as a creative metaphor for weather prediction. While today, we understand meteorological science, this whimsical approach to forecasting appeals to our sense of wonder. It reflects humanity's age-old desire to explain and anticipate natural phenomena, blending rustic folklore with lighthearted celebration. The tradition thrives because it makes people smile. It's a reminder not to take life too seriously, something especially welcome in the middle of a dreary winter. Groundhog Day is a testament to the enduring power of storytelling and myth-making in connecting us with nature and each other. Today, Groundhog Day represents more than just a quirky tradition. It's a celebration of community and joy. The annual festivities in Punxsutawney draw tens of thousands of visitors from around the globe, eager to be a part of the fun. The ceremony at Gobbler's Knob is the centerpiece of the event. It begins early in the morning, often before sunrise, as crowds gather to witness Punxsutawney Phil's prediction. Dressed in formal attire, members of the Punxsutawney Groundhog Club, referred to as the Inner Circle, handle the groundhog and read the official prediction in a mix of grand tradition and tongue-in-cheek humor. The day is filled with events, from parades and music to local food and crafts. It's a time for celebration, where history buffs, families, and casual onlookers can come together to partake in the festivities. People travel from across the country, and some even make pilgrimages from overseas, all to experience this uniquely American tradition. The cultural reach of Groundhog Day expanded significantly after 1993, when the iconic comedy film Groundhog Day hit theaters. Starring Bill Murray as a cynical weatherman trapped in a time loop reliving the holiday, the movie brought widespread recognition to the tradition and boosted Punxsutawney Phil's fame. The movie's success gave Groundhog Day newfound global attention. To many, it transformed the holiday from a regional celebration to a globally recognized event, blending humor and existential reflections on tradition and personal growth. While it may seem like a lighthearted quirk of the calendar, Groundhog Day carries broader cultural significance. It reflects the blending of diverse traditions, from ancient European customs to uniquely American adaptations. It's a living example of how folklore evolves and adapts, infusing old beliefs with modern practices. Groundhog Day also reminds us of the power of community and shared ritual. In a world often focused on fast-paced priorities, moments that bring people together to celebrate something as simple as a groundhog offer a refreshing break. They remind us that sometimes joy and meaning are found in the smallest traditions. From its ancient origins in Candlemas to the lively festivities at Gobbler's Knob, Groundhog Day is a tradition that has endured and evolved over centuries. What began as a practical application of weather folklore has become a delightful celebration of humor, community, and the ever-changing seasons. As you watch Punxsutawney Phil emerge from his burrow, consider the rich history behind the day and the generations of people who've celebrated the midpoint of winter. More than just folklore, Groundhog Day is a testament to the creativity, culture, and connection that shape our everyday lives. Whether you're a history buff, a casual onlooker, or someone simply seeking a reason to smile, Groundhog Day offers something for everyone. So, mark your calendar and celebrate this quirky, enduring tradition. Spring, or 6 more weeks of winter, awaits!